What's going on, guys? It's the Bigs Podcast. Tonight it is episode number 87, talking about week 16, and this is part one. With me tonight is, I'm going to do my best Joe impersonation. It is our commissioner, the three-time Bigs champion, and Joe's best friend, Ben Nisman. Ben, how you doing tonight?
Doing great. That was an excellent introduction. Way to fill in. I'm sure the guys have not seen this combo before, but hey, man, you filled out that chair handsomely. So looking forward to it. Should be a lot of fun and good one-on-one banter. So get it all started for us, Jason.
Let's get going, boys. How about that? Hey, what a week it was, huh? Week 16 was crazy. Dude, like we are down to the nitty-gritty here. Like the season is now slowly starting to come to a head here, and there's 9, 10 teams that are still maybe in the mix here, but we're starting to separate the boys from the men here.
Well said. Yeah, like you said, very crazy, unexpected as far as some of these upsets and a lot of nuts stuff that went down on Sunday, just throughout the league. The Sunday really made a difference in a lot of these matchups, and we'll get into that a lot more soon.
Yeah. Let's kick this off. We're gonna kick it off with our new but old first place team. That's gonna be Mike Haber taking a double up victory, 14-7 over Kostas. Tell me what you saw here.
Well, one thing was the relief appearance battle was just back and forth. Basically, you really didn't know what was going to happen. I know that there was a moment in the Yankees Mets game where Kostas was hoping Michael King could come in that second game. It happened, and it was just a dogfight. And now this was basically Mike's the whole way, but it did get a little tighter on Sunday for a moment. It got to about 12-9, and some things turned around in the last moment. I can't tell you exactly. I think walks given up was one of the things that occurred late, as well as RBIs or maybe doubles. But in general, this was something that Mike had in hand. And week following a matchup where I had said that Kostas should have probably won bigger on Matt, or else he could be in trouble going into this Mike Haber matchup. For the most part, Kostas has had Mike's number. Of course, we all remember the semifinals in 2021. And other matchups in 2022 as well. And then, of course, he won in week one over Mike this year. So he was probably feeling confident that this was a winnable matchup, but he hasn't taken a loss like this from Mike Haber yet. So he just felt it. For the first time, I think he really felt the impact of what Mike Haber can do when he's at his best. And I think that Kostas is licking his wounds and feeling like his season is not yet on life support, but it's a couple of tough weeks away from being that way. His schedule isn't easy going forward, as he has you this week. He has Bobby to follow at some point. Second to last week, he has Frank Bucco. So he's got a tough road ahead, and this was a tough loss. But in general, you tip your cap to one of the best in the game in Mike Haber. This was bound to happen eventually. The timing is really rough, though.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And so on Sunday, the only thing that flipped, so Mike flipped RBIs by getting 5, and he also flipped innings pitched by throwing 19 innings on Sunday, and just totally, because it was 12-9. It was 12-9 going into Sunday,
Okay.
and he came away with the 14-7 win.
Yeah, and it seems like Kostas just he didn't throw enough, and he did get those relief appearances he obviously needed to win the category by one. And I know you'll get into the close category soon, but the fact that Mike throws all these innings but still wins walks given up by one, it's huge to do that well with your 19 innings.
and throw, a 3.5 ERA essentially. It was really impressive. Yeah, let's dive into this. Close categories here. Mike wins by 2 doubles. He wins by an RBI, 5 ticks on the average, 2 losses, 2 homers given up, 1 walk given up, and 3 ticks on the whip. Kostas wins by the only triple of the matchup, 3 homers, 2 errors, a save, and 1 relief appearance, and they didn't tie in a damn thing.
Oh, I got him by 1 error here on my end.
Yes, 1 error. Yeah, you're correct. 1 error.
Yeah,
my math was off. I don't know. 3 minus 2.
Well, that's huge. I mean, for Kostas to win both the errors category and the triples category by 1, and relief appearances, which is like a fairly new category when you think of it. I mean, I realize it was 2012, but even still, it's one of the newest for us. And this could have been so much worse. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. It was a lot of close stuff here on both sides of the matchup, and it could have been a very different matchup one way or the other.
Yes.
On the bench for Mike, he goes 3 for 13.
Well, 3 for 12 would be 250. 7.
231. 231 with just a steal, a walk, and 5 strikeouts, and absolutely none of it plays. It was a beautiful bench week by Mike Haber. Well done, sir. For his moves this week, he used 6 ads. He dropped Joey Votto and Chris Bryant, who hit the IL. Dropped them for Spencer Torkelson, who went 1 for 5 with a double, 2 RBIs, 2 strikeouts, and an error. He dropped Dory Morita for Josh Winkowski, who gave him an inning, 2 strikeouts, a 2 whip, and a relief appearance. Dropped Jack Peterson for Matt Moore, an inning and 2/3, 2 walks, a 120 whip, and a relief appearance. And he added Jorge Polanco for his IL spot. He eventually got activated and went 1 for 4 with a double and 2 RBIs. So that was a good pickup there. Dropped Torkelson and Dylan Floro, picked up Adam Duvall, 2 for 4 with a run, 2 doubles, and a strikeout. And picked up Mitch Garver, who is now the starting catcher for the Rangers, 0 for 2 with a walk and a strikeout. For his key players this week, we will highlight it was an interesting week for his offense. It was a really good offensive week for Mike. I'm going to highlight Marcus Semien, 333 with 407, 4 runs, a homer, 5 RBIs, 2 walks, and 4 strikeouts. Nope, we're looking at Sunday here, aren't we? Yes, we are looking at the totals. That was totals. Okay. His offense was spread around, like everybody did something this week. So It was really hard to pick somebody to to highlight. Even like the least valuable hitter, like I'm giving it to Ezekiel Duran. Chipped in 2 steals, 150 with a 261, 3 runs, 3 walks, 6 strikeouts. But the error is the costly thing here, so that's why he gets named the least valuable hitter.
Yeah, and that coupled with a very late error by Bryce Harper in the Phillies, who they put the Pittsburgh Pirates game. It was I believe in the 9th inning that helped the Pittsburgh Pirates tie the game, and it was bad timing for the Phillies as well. It wasn't just one of those. It was a loud error for the game. It wasn't one of those errors that happens, in the 4th inning when the team is up by 6 runs anyway. So it was costly on both ends. And then all of a sudden, that's a way that Kostas was able to grab a category.
Right. And, again, it was interesting because, nobody did one thing great. Like there wasn't somebody who had 10 RBIs or somebody who had 5 home runs. Like it was just really spread out amongst all of his offense, which I thought was really interesting. Usually you see at least one guy who stands high among the rest, but everybody just kind of did something this week, which was really interesting. On the pitching side, I'm going to give the Cy Young to our friend Justin Verlander, 11 1/3 innings, 2 wins, 5 walks, 11 strikeouts, and 0.79 with a 106. Shout out to Giovanni Gallegos, who I guess is the new closer again for the Cardinals. He went 5 innings with a win, 5 strikeouts, nothing earned over 4 appearances. For Kostas on his bench, he went 3 for 20.
That doesn't work out too well with math because 3 for 21 won't even be. I mean, It's very good.
Yeah.
3 for 20, huh? 3 for 18 is 1 for 6. 200, 168.
It's actually a 150.
Okay.
Nice even 150. 4 runs, a homer, a triple, 2 RBIs, 3 walks, and 2 strikeouts. The only thing that plays is the RBIs. He only left 2 of them on the bench. Both of them would have flipped the category. But there was really no easy way to get them in. There was a Stanton home run on the bench on Friday or on Saturday.
Oof. Yeah.
JD Martinez went 0 for 3, so I guess you could say that. But
Yeah.
I don't know if you're starting Stanton over JD Martinez. So
That's on the matchup, right?
yeah, right. Yeah. But I mean, I know I wouldn't blame somebody for starting Martinez over Stanton because Stanton has not been good this year. So,
Yeah, no, I get it.
you know,
Yeah, it was in the night game, right? Oh yeah, it was against Dean Kramer, though. I don't know.
yeah.
Hard to say. Fernando Tatis obviously could have been benched as well that day. There could have been a
Yeah.
way to get him in, but I guess the guy's been so cold.
Yeah, you could move people around. Like you could have put, I guess you could put Tatis at short and bench Garcia, but it's tough. It wasn't like it
Yes.
wasn't anything glaring to me that he. Could have gotten the RBI in.
No, sure.
His ads this week, well, he used all of one. He added Keenan Middleton, an inning, a strikeout, and 9 ERA over that guy dropped Kyle Harrison. That was all he did all week long, which I found interesting because, like you said, there was a point where innings was close, and he only won relief appearances by 1. I wonder if there was a move that he could have made somewhere along the week to kind of beef that up a little bit.
Right. At the same time, to only make that one move and to win relief appearances by 1 over Mike Haber of all people,
Yep.
that one, I'd be kicking myself in the teeth if I tied or lost that category, because I feel like maybe I could have been more aggressive to at least grab that category. If he's trying to stay away from losses, he's trying to stay away from home runs and walks. He unfortunately lost all of those anyway because Mike pitched like a machine. But
Right.
I can't fault him for that, but he took a risk here, and he really is fortunate that ended up working out.
He did also on Saturday. He benched. So Saturday featured the Angels versus the Blue Jays. He had Reed Detmers against Alek Manoah, and Kostas owns both of those pitchers, and he benched both of them. And neither one of them pitched particularly well, so that worked out. Detmers got the loss.
Right, but he ended up losing every freaking one of those categories anyway. Do you see? Like, it's unfortunate. Like that's where it becomes frustrating, because he did do that intelligently. He did use, like, okay, it's practical that this could be a shit show, and it's a slobber knocker, and it's just a slugfest the whole way. And he was right. But if you look at how many pitching categories he actually won, it's saves and relief appearances, which has nothing to do with those two. So it's just unfortunate because, then obviously if he did go for it, if he did at least break in to get some innings, maybe strikeouts happen as well, but at least you get innings.
Right.
A 13-8 is different than a 14-7, Jason.
Yeah, I mean those two. Like he didn't miss the innings because of those two benchings, but I see what you're saying. Like it would have made it a lot closer, and probably would have made Mike think about what he was doing on Sunday. It could have changed things for sure.
It could have. Yes.
Yeah.
And then maybe Kostas is doing different things on Sunday as well.
Right. For Kostas' key players, well, he didn't hit all that well. He only batted .218 for the week. I'm giving it to Willie Castro, I guess, who did a little bit of everything. He got the triple of the week. Only hit .263, but a .440 on base, 2 runs, a double, the triple, 2 RBIs, 3 steals, 5 walks, and 5 strikeouts. The least valuable hitter is going to be Giancarlo Stanton because he did not get him in for that Saturday game. The guy hit 083 with a 154, a run, a walk, and 6 strikeouts. On the pitching side, his Cy Young is going to, and this hurts, the Cy Young is going to be the guy I traded to him, Adbert Alzolay, 3 1/3, 3 saves, 4 strikeouts, nothing earned, an 060 whip over 3 appearances. Yeah, I did not realize that this guy was going to be running away with the closer gig back in late May or whatever it was. So that sucks.
I understand, and huge for Kostas again. If he doesn't have that guy, he loses saves as well. Like that is a key trade.
Yep. Logan Allen gets Cy Young honors here. 13 innings, 2 losses, 4 bombs, 3 walks, 9 strikeouts, 6.23 ERA, and a 1.38 WHIP over 2 starts.
So.
Yeah, again, so this propels Mike back up into first place. It does drop Kostas down into 7th, so he is currently out of the playoff picture at the moment. I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. I have Kostas this week, and I'm a little scared. I'm afraid of a revenge from him. I took him down in the beginning of the season. He just fell to Mike. I don't feel good about it.
I can understand. Usually you kind of want a guy coming off a little bit of a hotter week personally, than a 218. Like law of averages says he should be able to hit a little bit better than that. But yeah. I want to kind of boost some confidence into you right now. And I'm sure we'll talk about this more when we get into your matchup as well. But you do have more experience than Kostas. And I recall a point in 2021 when you had to play this guy late. And your season was basically on the back burner at that point. But you outplayed him in that week and got him pretty good. And you kind of knew it even when we were doing the podcast on like a Wednesday. You were like, I think I got him. I think I've done enough here. And we were like, yeah, I think so. I think you can kind of play by the score now, So
yeah.
I wouldn't be too concerned. I think anyone that has you on the schedule right now is thinking, oh, Jason, like this should be a pain in the ass. You're always using the 12 ads. I think you could use that as your advantage as well, as he only used 1. He might still be careful about, oh no, I can't drop this guy or else the league will get him, So
You're right.
It's at a certain point, you got to be aggressive. And I actually acknowledge the fact that at most points, you're willing to be more aggressive than him. That may play against you, but it also could play in your favor. As far as Kostas goes going forward, that he has you, that he has Bobby. He gets a little breather with Christian. I think Sherman's on the schedule as well. But the fact that he's got Frank in the second to last week, and he's got to deal with Henry on the final week. Like, that's a bitch.
Yeah. So his schedule, as it is right now, he has me this week, then Bobby, then Christian, then Sherman, Frank, and Henry to finish it out. Those are the last 2 weeks of the season are going to be really real grinders.
Right. And Mike Sherman, like you experienced what happens when Mike Sherman can have a hot week. Like Bobby just felt that and was able to save himself. We'll get into more of that tomorrow when we discuss his matchup. Right. But I mean, Mike Sherman is no joke. The fact that Frank has Mike Sherman on the final week, like that's not fun. Because when you have to face those guys, and Mike Sherman on any week with that group could have a hot pitching or hot hitting or both. Like that's not just like a gimme against Sherman. So throughout this point, I feel like now more than ever, like Kostas needs to get started at some point. Because if he falls behind you and then he falls behind Bobby as well, further behind Bobby as well, then he's going to need a huge win on Christian. Like then it becomes like a must against him.
Right.
And if he can't really do that, if he can only do like a +4 or a +5, and then it's Sherman, Frank, Henry, I don't know. I just don't know. It's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot. He's right there. Anyone can win a fantasy matchup in the bigs, and anyone can win 4 in a row or 5 in a row. So you can't say, oh, he's in trouble, but it's got to start soon.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let us move on.
Yeah. And of course,
We're
Mike
gonna move
Haber's
on
looking great, by the
to
way. Mike
the
Haber's
aforementioned.
looking like
Yeah,
a playoff team.
yeah. We know all about Mike, and he is a shoe-in for the playoffs. I mean,
I think so too.
I mean, do you think the bye is in reach for him?
It's in reach. I obviously feel like this is an important week now to take care of Frank and fatten up. That's going to be a challenge. I think he only beat him like 9-8 or something, or it was very very close. It came down to the Sunday night game that Mike won against Frank. So
It was
he's going to need to
10-9.
do
Yep.
that there, and then he's got a matchup against Joe. He's got a matchup against me. His final matchup is against James McCloskey. That's a pain in the ass team to play. Who beat me twice already? I don't think that I haven't even. I gotta look back to see the last time I beat McCloskey. We'll get into that later, but fairly reasonable schedule for Mike. Not the easiest of schedules, but I think if he plays his game, he should be good for the semis. Yeah, Jason.
Yeah. I think it's his bye to lose for sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, let us move on to our next matchup, and that's going to be Frank taking a victory over Matt, which it was an 11-5 win. Could have been bigger, should have been bigger. What did you see here?
Yeah, I listen. He basically saved his season on the last day. I mean, you probably noticed more of what went down on that final day, but my God, like Matt Loosee had the lead the entire week until Sunday, and then Frank pulled out the guns. It was incredible how he did that. If you're asking me truthfully, should this have been a bigger win? It really should have for Frank. Like this is a
Yeah.
+6. I felt like it needed to be a +8. A +6 with 5 ties. Like that's really weird, but I guess like that's better than taking more losses. But it we'll get into Frank's schedule soon, but I think Frank kind of missed an opportunity to really beat down on the worst team. Is it a double up? Yes. But just like Kostas last week, you almost think this needed to be bigger going into the schedule that he has in front of him.
And yeah, I mean, Matt had the lead going into Sunday. He was up 10-9 going into Sunday.
Yes.
Like I said, he led all week.
Mm-hmm.
And Sunday happened, and we've seen how Sundays have kind of screwed Frank in the past. This time Sundays were
This
kind
year.
of
This year in general, Frank is really he started off pretty rough against Matt Loosey, where Matt had 17 RBIs on Sunday in the first week, and then all of a sudden Frank lost like 17-4 or something weird.
Yeah.
But since then, and maybe won the following week against Mike Haber, but in general, Frank would even admit that he's had great Sundays this year. Against Ari, he picked up 3 pitchers that all did well, like Corbin and God knows who else, Stomberg.
Right.
But I was saying, like, that could have been like a double up that he made 12-9. He salvaged himself against McCloskey when he played him. He crushed me on Sunday. So he, in general, has saved his season on Sundays, and he definitely has a pulse right now.
This was no different. So Sunday he tied doubles, he flipped strikeouts, he flipped innings pitched by throwing 22 and 2/3 innings on Sunday. He tied losses. Matt got 2 losses on Sunday, even as Frank was throwing all those innings. It was Matt that got 2 losses, and also homers allowed. So it was just a wild Sunday for Frank, and it was much needed to keep himself, like you said, keep him, at least give him a victory here over Matt. For close categories, Frank wins by the only triple of the match: 3 homers, 2 RBIs, and 2 strikeouts. And Matt wins by a win. He wins by 1 tick on the whip and 1 relief appearance, and they tied in doubles, errors, losses, saves, and homers allowed. It's a lot of ties. You don't usually see 5 ties in a matchup. For Frank on his bench, he goes 5 for 18.
Son of a gun. Well, somewhere. Wow. I'll go with 288.
278. Pretty close. 278. 4 runs, a double, 2 homers, 3 RBIs, 4 walks, 5 strikeouts. The double is the only thing that plays here since they tied it. It was the only one that he left on the bench. It came on Friday. It was Kyle Schwarber. Kyle Schwarber had a big day on the bench. Alex Kirilloff was not good in the lineup. That probably was the move. I know he's had a lot of he's had a love-hate relationship with Kyle Schwarber this year, so this kind of just adds to it.
He's had a love-hate relationship with his bench in general. And that's why he's basically rid of it. I would say it's more hate with his bench than love. And then he brings back the bench, and then Kirilloff screws him. Like, that must be chapping him, because I know if I'd stuck to a strategy, then okay, let me bring on bench just in case something happens, and then the flip happens, he doesn't play his starter, Schwarber, the guy he drafted in the 4th round or 5th,
And then on Sunday, it didn't matter, but Sunday, same thing. So he starts Schwarber, who doesn't get a hit, and benches Marcell Ozuna, who hits a home run. Like, again, for the week, it didn't really matter, but it just speaks to what you're talking about as far as that hate for the bench. And it was working for him. Maybe he could try going back to having a really minimal bench.
We'll see. I mean, with playing Mike Haber, Bobby, you almost think you sort of have to have a bench, but I don't know. He could need more innings. He could need more relief appearances in those matchups. So it's hard to say now. But one thing we know right now with Frank is that he hates having to make the decision. And I'm with him, man. When we get into my matchup, well, I'll tell you, like, a lot of the times it's just a coin flip, and you play by the numbers, and you play by the matchups, you play by logic or the pitcher that the hitter is facing, and you still get it wrong. And sometimes you get it wrong by a lot. And you're like, wow, I had one guy to bench, just one guy to bench. And that was the most important guy to have in the lineup that day. It never fails.
Yep. Let's get into his moves. He used all 12. He dropped Phil Maton for Luke Jackson, an inning, 2 strikeouts, a whip, and a relief appearance. He dropped Keenan Middleton for Grant Hartwig, 1/3 of an inning, a walk, a 27 ERA, and a 9 whip over a relief appearance. He picked up George Soriano and then dropped George Soriano the same day, so that guy never even got in. He added Matt Manning, 5 innings, a loss, 3 homers, a walk, 5 strikeouts, 1260 and a 160 against the Angels. Dropped Manning for Bo Naylor over 2. Dropped Naylor for Marcell Ozuna. That was on Saturday, but that was after the bell. He also picked up Emmett Sheehan, 5 innings, a walk, 5 strikeouts, nothing earned, and an 060 whip against the Reds. And then Sunday happened. He dropped Hartwig, Luke Jackson, Sheehan, and Tyler Wells for Tyler Anderson, Graham Ashcraft, Dari Moreta, John Schreiber, Chris Murphy. All those guys got into the game. All those guys gave him innings and strikeouts and were really good, and that's what won him the week, essentially. It was all that.
Including something like one of the ads that you said, actually, Sheehan on the Dodgers. I was awake at 3 a.m. just like staring at this guy, right? And just thinking, like, this guy's been so freaking bad. Like, so bad. Like, if you look at his last 4 starts, they've been horrible. And for some reason, I feel like he could be good this time. Like, against Cincinnati, they had just lost. Like, they're not going to get swept in this series. I have Michael Grove on Sunday. I could go for this and, like, play it now. And if he's bad, then I would assume Michael Grove wins. But, like, if he's terrible and then I'm back behind the 8 ball, I take a loss. Like, I don't know. And then I saw it around 3 p.m. Frank picked this guy up, and I'm like, this did work, and it was, I believe, 5 scoreless innings. And if I had made that pickup, my week would have been better. So I tip my cap there. He needed that ad. Like if he doesn't get
Hmm.
that, innings is different. Uh, there's a lot more that's possibly in play here. So I give him a lot of credit there. Like that was an important pickup. And then yeah, on Sunday he made the moves necessary, and he was able to manage through making an ad that he was just like, that was wrong with the Soriano guy. So he's like,
Yeah,
okay, I can just live with that one. So
and it was
yeah,
and it was funny because I was watching him on Sunday. I was watching him make these ads, and he picked up Schreiber and Chris Murphy. And I had earlier in the day had read that because I know the Red Sox were going with that opener, and I had read that Nick Pivetta was expected to be the bulk guy, and I see him picking up Schreiber and Murphy. And I'm going, he's going to be disappointed because it's going to be Pivetta. Sure enough, Pivetta is starting tonight, Monday, against the Mariners, so he was
I,
not the bulk guy, and it
right,
worked out perfectly.
it worked out perfectly.
Yeah,
he uh he dodged some bullets here. It certainly could have been worse, but yeah, I don't know, man. It's getting tough. I feel like, all right, let's get into it, and then I'll get into
yeah,
it more
yeah.
later.
Let's hit his key players. And we talked about the guy traded to Costas. How about the guy traded to Frank? Whit Merrifield, 464 with a 448, 6 runs, 2 doubles, 2 homers, 7 RBIs, a steal, and 4 strikeouts. Shout out to our friend Lindor, who had a good week, but Merrifield was just on fire this week. His least valuable hitter is going to be Bryan Reynolds, 240 with a 296, 4 runs, 2 homers, 3 RBIs, a walk, and 9 strikeouts. Everybody did pretty good on this offense. I do want to call out Kyle Schwarber's line because he did not get him in for that game on Friday. He actually didn't record a hit for him all week long, but he did walk 8 times, giving him a
Yeah,
444 on base. So like,
yeah.
it was just an interesting line for Schwarber this week.
They said at some point he was either a walk or a strikeout in his last 14 at bats, or his last 14 plate appearances, rather. And I was listening to the game on the radio, and the broadcast said, he might as well not even bring a bat because it's either a strikeout or a walk in his last
Yeah,
14. So
he's Joey Gallo, right? He's
yeah,
homer or a walk. That's it.
yeah. It's a good player and a frustrating player to own. Not someone I would
Yeah,
want to own, but
yeah. I had him last year, and I know all about it.
mhm. Did you feel like it was a good player to have all in all, or would you have
Yeah,
rather have
yeah.
had
Because
him replaced with somebody else?
no, I was okay with him because I knew what I was getting. I knew what I was getting from him, and I felt like I had enough players to weather the batting average problem and strikeouts. So
Strikeouts.
yeah, so having the guy that can get on base and also hit home runs, I was able to deal with it.
Okay.
For his pitching, the Cy Young, I'm splitting it between Ashcraft, who went 6 innings, a win, 2 strikeouts, nothing earned, an 083 on Sunday, with Spencer Strider, 6 1/3, 2 homers, a walk, and 10 strikeouts, a 284 and a 111. Together, I put them together, and that's a solid week. But I mean, Ashcraft pretty much gave him what he needed on Sunday to win the week, and it was just a really good ad. He basically he picked up Sheehan for against the Reds the day before, and then Ashcraft against the Dodgers. It was just really well done. It was really a thing of beauty. So
Well,
good job.
that took balls, though, because
Right.
Sheehan had been so bad against the hot Reds offense, and then you're gonna pick up some guy named Ass Crack against the Dodgers lineup, like you
And he's been bad
for
too.
none of that, like right.
So yeah, it was an interesting, well done, well done. Um, I am going to give his Cy Yuck to a guy who's no longer on the team. That's Tyler Wells, 2 2/3, a loss, 2 homers, 3 walks, 1 strikeout, a 10-13, and a 2.25. For Matt on his bench, he goes 2 for 7.
Is it the 287?
It is 286.
Oh man, it's like one of those ones that I kind of remembered, but
Yeah, I feel like we've had that a few times.
yeah.
Yeah, 286, 3 runs, an RBI, a steal, a walk, and a strikeout. None of it plays. There was only one day on Tuesday where he could have gotten Josh Lowe into the lineup because Conforto didn't play.
Right.
That would have given him a run, an RBI, and a steal. Yeah,
But it didn't
but
matter.
didn't matter. He made 3 adds. He added Brandon Williamson, 5 2/3, a win, 4 walks, 2 strikeouts, 318 and a 212 against those same Dodgers. He added Javier Assad, an inning and a third over a relief appearance, or a third of an inning over a relief appearance, and Andrew Monasterio, 2 for 3 with 3 runs, a walk, and a strikeout. That was it.
Okay.
His key players, we're going to hit on Brandon Lau, 474 with a 524, 5 runs, 3 homers, 7 RBIs, a steal, a walk, and 4 strikeouts. The least valuable hitter is going to be Bryan De La Cruz, a 150 with a 190, 2 runs, a double, 2 homers, 4 RBIs, a walk, and 9 strikeouts. On the pitching side, I'm giving the Cy Young, I guess, to Kevin Ginkel. 2 2/3, a win and a save, 3 strikeouts, nothing earned, an 0.75 whip over 3 appearances. And the Cy Young goes to Michael Kopech, wherever you went to. 10 innings, 2 losses, 5 homers, 6 walks, 7 strikeouts, a 630 and a 190 over 2 starts. Yeah. Yeah. So this we did bump fifth, so he's back in the playoff picture. But like you said, this is still a great tenure, I feel like.
Right. So, and though he got through this and he got this double up, the schedule is really hectic going forward, and we'll get into that in a minute. But I do want to also point out that he used 12 ads. He left himself no odds to get himself ready for Monday, for any point in the week for Mike Haber, unless I'm missing something. Um, he hasn't been using all 12 ads, so it's starting to make me think that he's getting into a more aggressive mode these last few weeks. I sort of, because I know that he either used 11 or 12 last week as well. And for the first like half of the week, he wasn't, for half of the week, half of the season, he wasn't really using all 12 ads. So you can tell now he's in a position where he really needs to churn out statistics. And what's unfortunate here, besides that it's a +6 with the 5 ties, is that Matt Losee's ads actually really helped Matt in this matchup. He, like you said, the Williamson ad, that's how he wins. The reliever that he picked up, I forget the guy's name that you mentioned, but Assad, right? Oh, can I forget? But that guy gets a relief appearance and he wins relief appearances by 1. And you put those 2 pitching performance together with Assad and Williamson, that's how he wins WHIP. 1.32 to a 1.33. Those 2 ads take 3 categories for Matt out of the 5 that he got. This could have been so much better for Frank, and unfortunately, Matt guessed right on those 2 guys. And I don't know. What do you think? Do you think that Frank's in a good position here, or is it really like kind of like Kostas? It's crunch time.
Yeah, I mean the schedule, like you talked about, it's Haber this week, then me, Bobby, Christian, Kostas, and Mike Sherman, and it's not a cakewalk. I mean, okay, maybe Christian can be a cookie for him, but the rest of that is stress, and he's going to go through it. Do I think he's out of it? I don't know that he's out of it. I think one good win over this stretch kind of really gives him a good shot. It's going to be tough though.
Yeah, and the matchups that are must wins are. I mean, he really can't take, if he does take the loss there, they can't be like a lethal one. Like to you, to Bobby, Kostas, like those can't be like a brutal double up, because
Right.
those are the guys that he's fighting for the playoff spot. If he takes one from Mike Sherman in the last week, I can think we kind of know how many stats he'll need in the final week, or even this one against Mike Haber, because Mike Haber is probably a shoo-in for the playoffs anyway. Christian, so that's a tricky one because like that's one that just like this Matt Loosey matchup, it's a must win, but it's not because it's not a guy that you're really chasing or fighting for. But if you're going to get a win, like you better get it on that guy because he's been struggling all season.
Absolutely. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see. Again, it's gonna be a tough ride, but I think he has what it takes to get it. We'll just see. We'll see how he goes.
Yeah. And you got to give credit to Matt Lowenstein here. I mean, it was one of his better weeks as far as performance on the field. A 3.15 ERA over 65 and two thirds, a 298 average, right? Like, nine doubles, like these kinds of stats that really play against anybody. And Frank's probably like, geez, really? I had to play this guy this week. Like he has not been doing this the whole season. To actually
Right.
put up a 3.15 ERA and a 298 average on the same week. It's like, wait a minute, Frank, like, how come you played this guy on week one and now, and this is when he's had his best weeks of the season as far as stats go? Good for Frank. Good for Frank to being able to alleviate that, like to actually mitigate the damages here. This could have been so much worse. You wish it would have been better, but it could have been worse. So he's got to be licking his wounds.
Well said. Well said. I think that's going to bring us to our next matchup. And speaking of what could have been and should have been better, it's going to be my matchup against Christian, where I take an 11-9 win, but I definitely wanted more.
Yeah, I feel bad getting into this with you, man, because yeah, this kind of was your last matchup to really get right and really get a thumping. And I guess you can break down really what went down and why this wasn't bigger. I feel like there was bigger leads throughout the lead throughout the week that you just couldn't hold on to. Either there was mistakes that you made or too much fight back from Christian. But at the end of the day, 11-9, that was the score I had for Christian. And when you lose innings pitched by 1 out, and a couple of other stats, I think walks given up, I lost by 1 against them. You're just like, God, why couldn't I win the close ones against this guy?
Yeah, and for me, like I started the week, my offense was on fire starting the week, and I've said in the past that when my offense does well, I feel pretty good, and so I was feeling pretty good, having a big offense early in the week, and then they just fell asleep, and his offense came alive, at least on the walks, on the on base, and the average, and he ended up flipping all that. Because I think I was leading all of those by like Wednesday or Thursday, and then it just turned on its head, and I couldn't figure out how to get those back. It
Right.
wasn't working. So yeah, and so it was stressful, a lot more stressful than I had anticipated it being. Let's dive into the close categories here. I win by 2 errors, 2 homers given up, and 2 relief appearances, which that was close all week long. He wins by 2 steals, a walk, a loss, a save, and we tied in triples. And now we'll get to my bench because this is where I want to puke. On my bench, I went 9 for 28.
Oh man. So what is it, like 326 or something?
321. Yep. 321, 5 runs, 2 triples, 4 RBIs, a walk, and 14 strikeouts. The 2 triples, it was on, first one was on Tuesday. It was Edward Julian. I didn't like the matchup. I had Wilmer Flores. I had him starting at second base instead. He went over 2 with 2 walks, so like he was productive.
Right.
I liked the matchup better. It didn't work out. The other one happened on Saturday. It was Chas McCormick on the bench, 3 for 5 with 3 runs, a triple, and 2 RBIs. It was a matter of who do I want to bench, and I don't remember who I went with. I think I went with Varsho. It was just like you said, it was a gut feeling, and it didn't pay off. So I am definitely kicking myself because that would have changed a lot of things.
My friend, I am with you 1,000%.
Yeah. For my ads, I dropped Carlos Carrasco for Tariq Skubal, who went 5 innings, a win, 9 strikeouts, and an 0.40 whip. I dropped Colin Holderman for Zach McKinstry, 0 for 3. Added Ronnie Mauricio to my NA spot. Dropped McKinstry for Marco Luciano, who I never actually put into the lineup, so he didn't really do anything. I then added Noah Syndergaard to my IL spot, who I am not pitching today against the Astros. I dropped Emilio Pagan for Jose Soriano. I picked him up for the doubleheader against the Blue Jays, and after they had just used a whole bunch of relievers the day before, or the game before, he didn't come in. He didn't come into one game in that doubleheader on I think it was on Thursday. I was so mad about that. I dropped that guy for Kyle Freeland, who went 4 innings, a loss, 3 strikeouts, a 675, a 225 against the A's. It was here in Colorado, but I figured against the worst offensive team in baseball, it was a good start. Nope. So I dropped him for Tyler Rogers, 2/3 of an inning over relief appearance. I dropped Marco Luciano for Genesis Cabrera, 2/3 of an inning, a win, a strikeout, and a relief appearance. I finally dropped Austin Hayes for Alejandro Kirk, 0 for 3 with a walk. And I dropped this is after the bell. I dropped Edward Julian for Luis Garcia. That was late Sunday.
All 12.
Yeah. All 12. I almost didn't do all 12, but I just needed to fine tune for this week. So
that was sure. No, you have to.
Yeah.
And you're in a position where it's like, why wouldn't you just bench guys that you wouldn't need on Sunday and Monday as well, and just shed them off and use those last few ads for Monday?
Exactly. Yep. For my key players, we're giving the MVP to Pete Alonso, 304 with a 370, 5 runs, 4 homers, 12 RBIs, 2 walks, and 4 strikeouts. I tell you, it was all like, it was 2 games essentially that he like really found his stroke. But every time, he only struck out 4 times. I feel like he struck out 17 times this week, because I feel like every time I watched him, he was striking out. It was so frustrating.
Except that Yankee game, man, he came alive in that Yankee game, and then he got that was kind of him basically finding his stride for the rest of the week.
Yeah, I also want to say that Julio Rodriguez is also finally finding his stride here. 345 with a 367, 7 runs, 3 doubles, 3 homers, 4 RBIs, and a steal, 6 strikeouts. Like that's what I've been waiting for all season long. So happy to see these guys finally start to get right. Hopefully that carries over. My least valuable hitter is going to be Austin Hayes, who I've since dropped finally. 083 with an 083, a double, and an RBI, 4 strikeouts. I've held on to this guy all season. He was red hot for the first half, and he's just been a garbage the second half. So I have enough outfielders that I felt like I could do without him.
I get it.
For the pitching side, the Cy Young is going to be Andrew Abbott. I'm loving this kid. 6 innings, a win, a walk, 9 strikeouts, nothing earned, and a 1.33 whip. And the Cy Young is, that's exactly who I thought it was going to be. It is going to be Framber Valdez, 3 2/3, a loss, 2 bombs, 2 walks, a strikeout, 1473 and a 273. I almost didn't even pitch him in this game because the pitching was doing pretty good, but I wanted to get that reassurance, and I felt like having Valdez, like, he's good for 6 or 7 innings like every time, and it just didn't work out.
No, but did it really? I mean, did he take the loss?
He didn't take the loss, no, because he did take the loss. I'm sorry, he did take the loss.
So he took 1 loss. That was really the only spot that it really burned you, because you took ERA, you took WHIP, you took innings, you took home runs given up. So I mean, that was the
But like,
one spot that's a loss instead of a tie here in stats. Like it actually could have been worse.
yeah, I mean, there was a point where, like like Saturday, by Saturday, he like innings started to get close, and so that's why I threw starters on Sunday because I wanted to make sure that I was getting the innings, but so if I had gotten 6 or 7 innings from Valdez on that start, I might have not started anybody on Sunday. So it did kind of mess me up throughout the week. For Christian on the bench, he goes 2 for 11.
That was that 188 or 192 or neither.
It's 182. It's 182 with a run, a steal, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts, and an error. None of that plays. He made 2 ads this week, which I don't know why I felt like he did more for some reason. It felt like he was actually like trying this week, which of course. He added Andrew Heaney, 5 innings, a win, a homer, 3 walks, 3 strikeouts, a 540, and a 140. And then he added Carlos Carrasco. And I saw this ad and I went, God, like, obviously as a Met fan, I want Carrasco to do well. But I'm going against him, so I want him to do poorly. And after I saw what he did for me against the Red Sox last weekend, I thought maybe he was going to do well. He was going to bounce back. No, 2/3 of an inning, a loss, a walk, 2 strikeouts, a 23-14, and a 386 whip. So that pretty much saved a lot of the week.
Yeah, no doubt. No, it won you whip, it won you ERA. Yeah, it was huge. It was good that you
Yeah.
actually sometimes you make an ad. It's really the moves that you don't make that would save you, and it's the ads that you make that end up blowing in your face. More on that later. That's my waiver claim. Absolutely.
Yes, we'll get to that. For his MVP, it's another guy that I traded. It's Wander Franco, 263 with a 364, 4 runs, the triple, a homer, an RBI, a steal, 3 walks, and 2 strikeouts. I feel like that's like a gut punch right there. The least valuable hitter is going to be Alex Verdugo, who went 214 with a 267, a walk, and 4 strikeouts. Nothing going on there. On the pitching side, the Cy Young is going to go to Zach Wheeler, 6 2/3, a win, a walk, 11 strikeouts, a 135, and an 060. And the Cy Young is going to go to the aforementioned Carlos Carrasco.
Yeah, I gotta throw a shout out to James Outman though. I don't know how many at bats, but 500 average is 643 on base, a run, a double, 2 RBIs, a steal as well. He won by 2 steals, 3 strikeouts. But here's the one thing that's important: tied Jose Abreu with the most walks on the team this week. He won that category by 1 over you. So having James Outman, playing him basically the times where he was in the lineup, humongous in order to grab a stat from you.
Yeah, and it was, again, it was just crazy. Like even just like yesterday, Sunday, I'm standing in line at a book signing of all places. I'm in a bookstore at a book signing of all places, and the Red Sox and Giants game goes into extra innings, and I'm going, okay, like, can I get something from? I had Wilmer Flores and Rafael Devers in this game. I'm like, can I get something to give me? Somebody take a walk. Can one of those guys take a walk here in extra innings? So I turned on the game on my phone, standing in line at this book signing to watch that. Neither of them took a walk, and I was very disappointed.
Yeah, that's really all you needed. Or if like maybe a couple more hits might take batting average in your favor. So yeah,
Yeah,
there's certain things in
something.
play. Yeah,
Yeah.
just a tease,
So it was
basically.
just frustrating because I do wish that I could have done more here. I still stay in 8th place. Um, I I still feel like I'm still in it. I still feel like I'm in it. But it's gonna be rough. It's gonna be really, really rough, and I know my schedule is not gonna do me any favors. Like I said, this was the chance, and it didn't really happen. So
What are you facing here? It's Kostas, then Frank. That I know.
let's see. It's Kostas, Frank, Henry, Joe,
Oh,
Adam, and then you, and I finish with you.
uh,
Yeah.
that's not easy. That's not easy. But 12 over. If I was going to tell you 12 over with 6 weeks to play, would you sign up for it no matter who you're playing against?
Yeah. Yes. I think so. And look, only like even if it's like, I'm happy with how my season's been. Like I feel like I've played it well. I feel like my trades have most part panned out. For two, with my moves. Like, I'm happy with it. I'm still hoping for to go up 2 spots and make it to the dance, but I'm good.
I missed a lot of what you said. I felt like it broke up a good amount of the time, but it sounded like you were saying, regardless of how it all falls into place in the last 6 weeks, it's seeming like you had a good season. You really built on a lot of the things from last year, and you're kind of proud of how it's gone so far.
Absolutely. I'm happy with this. And, I'm not done yet. I'm where things are. And that's going to take us to our final matchup of the night, and that's going to be your matchup, sir, where you take a 10-8 loss to James McCloskey. The floor is yours, sir.
Well, first, I did the research as we've been going through the show. We'd have to go back to week 10 of 2019, the last time that I beat this guy. 14-7 win at that point. Last year, I tied him, and then I lost late. I tied him in week one, actually. It's like weird. I played him in week one last season and this season. And I tied him the first time, and then I lost later in week 16. This year, I lose to him by 4. I think I lost. I think 12-8 was the score I lost to him this year, week one, and then I lose again. It's like can't freaking beat this guy. I can tie him, but I can't beat him. And what a frustrating week, man. And what a tough team to play. When you're facing Otani at any point, it's like, uh-oh, I just hope it's not one of those kinds of weeks. And it was basically. It was one of those weeks where after a certain performance, you're saying, oh my God, this guy might be the best player ever. Like he just did something in a double header that's never been done. He had basically one of the greatest days of baseball. And some bad decisions on my part as well. We'll get into it more. Definitely a frustrating Sunday, like where I could have actually tied the matchup on Sunday. My God, I don't know if you've been there, Jason. Um, at least since 2016 of the which is the year that we started making ads the day of it. We had actually an amount of ads that we could use since that year. If there's ever been a week at the end of Sunday and you're like, oh my God, this is some of the worst management I've ever had in my fantasy career. And somehow I didn't get trounced this week. Like I lost by 2, or I tied, or I lost by 3. Like this could have been horrendous. Like things that happened on Sunday melted me down and then
Mm-hmm.
saved my season.
Yeah, and you know what? Like Sundays, I play softball, so most of the days, most of the time on Sundays, I'm on the softball field. I don't even see my phone until like later in the day, so I don't know what's going on until my games are over, and let me tell you, it's a little mind racking, like
Yeah.
just not knowing what's going on and knowing that Sunday is always crazy, especially when you have Sundays like that.
Yes. Because on Sundays, more than any other day, obviously, is the day where every manager kind of lines up. What can I win? What am I blown out in? What am I playing for? And then it goes in all these different directions, as we see in at least 1 or 2 matchups every single week. So
Yeah.
this was no different. Get us through it.
All right, let's do the close categories. Ben, you win by a walk, an error, 5 innings, and 9 ticks on the whip.
And a loss.
And a loss, yep. And James wins by 2 steals, a save, and a walk and up. You guys tied in triples, wins, and ERA. Ben, on your bench, you go 13 for 56.
Oh, doesn't sound good. I don't know, like 247. I don't know.
It's a 232, so it's better. 232, 9 runs, 4 doubles, a triple, 3 homers, 11 RBIs, 8 walks, and 7 strikeouts. Looks like the triple happened on Sunday.
Jeff. It was Jeff.
Who was it?
McNeil.
Oh yes, that's right. See, I didn't even watch the game. Yeah, but like again, where are you putting him? Like,
Well, that's exactly it. Because Jason, I needed walks. I won walks by 1. Soto grabbed a walk, right? Nimmo, you're not benching Nimmo. He grabbed a walk. I'm gonna play Carlos Santana for a walk. He got one. Nathaniel Lowe, he could do it. He grabbed a walk. Am I playing him instead of a Rise? No, because he drew a walk. Like they all
Grichuk drew a walk.
Grichuk drew a walk. So obviously McNeil drew a walk. So McNeil, instead of any of those guys, was better. But like they all did what I played them to do. McNeil was freaking terrible. Of course, the Sunday triple is just that has been like a story of my season. The Sunday triple. Either my opponent gets it, which is most of the time. In this case, on my bench, it was there for the taking. Man, and the runs, 9 of them. That would have been tough. But you look at Monday, you stare straight at that lineup on Monday, and you see something awful on the bench. One guy to bench. One guy. Carlos Santana against Yu Darvish. Why am I not going to that guy? Because it's Yu Darvish. And if you looked at who Nathaniel was facing against, and I think I had Josh Bell against Greinke, and Nathaniel Lowe had an awesome game. I think he went like 2 for 2 and a walk and a run and an RBI. But against Darvish and against the Padres bullpen, 2 dingers, 4 RBIs, a walk, and I think 2 runs, maybe 3 runs just from him. No, it was 2. But
it was 2 runs, a double, 2 homers, 4 RBIs, and a walk. Yep.
2 ding dongs. Like it's just like when you got one guy to bench and it was the wrong guy. But fortunately, when you look at it, that's not really what plays. Those home runs never would have mattered. Those RBIs never would have mattered. The double, I won anyway. Those hits weren't going to get me batting average and on base, and those runs I would have. Riley Green had like 4 on my bench this week. It's really, to me, and we'll get into it more, but it's really the triple on Sunday, and then my reliever on Kansas City, who's thrown 2 days in a row. So I kind of stayed away from that one. And I played these starting pitchers that we'll get into later. It just really, if I just did something else, I would have been in such better shape. But a save on the bench on Sunday that would have tied the category. And when you're playing against a guy that you really should beat in saves because all he has is Kenley Jansen, and the fact that the Giants were playing the Red Sox, so I was sort of in a position where, like, I need the Giants to win those games or I'm in trouble with that stat. And the Padres, of course, couldn't get a save situation until Sunday, basically, until Hader. Andrew Chafin had the save that he was given the ball by Lovilo in the 9th inning against the Cardinals and becomes completely unglued, like demolished by the Cardinals. And I'm thinking, my God, that went from a save to a loss right there because he was so goddamn shitty. And like right after that happens, Jinkle comes in and he like gives up all the rest of those runs that Chafin had put on. So right there, oh my God, that kills me. And then this one, Ready for this? Kenta Maeda, beautiful game, incredible against the Minnesota Twins. Not against the Minnesota
Against the
Twins. Who
Royals.
the hell? Against
Against the Royals.
no, this was on Monday. I'm talking about the
On
Monday
Monday.
matchup. Colton Wong, what team does he play for? Seattle. Right. They got the
Seattle,
lead on
yep.
Seattle.
Yeah. Yes.
Colton Wong is a strike away from me getting this Kenta Maeda win. When the closer toss it up, bro. Bomb like Colton Wong to put them in the league. And then the Twins win on a walk-off anyway, but the win is gone. I tie wins 1-1, like one strike away from getting that win. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me, Jason? So between that, the save that never happened, that I couldn't get in in the game that Kenta Maeda is pitching on Sunday because the Kansas City Royals closer, Barlow, had pitched too many pitches the last few days, and Hernandez is going to get the save. Sure. And then the triple by McNeil. This was atrocious. But again, when you throw 55 innings and Chafin does what he does, and then if you look, I believe it was the next day, Scott Magoo, or unless it was Wednesday, but one of those days, Magoo absolutely came unglued against, again, the Cardinals. He gave up 2 bombs. He gave up like 6 runs. And I'm like, okay, whip is done. Okay, ERA is done. Okay, home runs are probably done. And let's find a way to stay away from losses now. I guess I have to go for innings. Like, those 2 guys, Chafin and Magoo, like the Arizona Diamondbacks bullpen, absolutely kicked the shit out of me. Somehow, Jason, tie in ERA. Often do you see that happen? 2 teams with 2 different innings, but with the same exact ERA. Very strange. And to pull off whip because Severino shit the bed. Thank God. Like, thank you, baseball gods. Like, if that doesn't happen, if Severino pitches even a confident game, let's say he doesn't get the win, but he doesn't take the loss, that's a tie score. He wins the ERA, he wins whip. Those are 2 more that are flipped. That goes 12, 11-7, 12-6. I don't win losses. That's 5. 12-5 instead. That Severino start did that much. But let's get into this. I've kind of set it up.
And by the way, just to piggyback on the Arizona Diamondbacks bullpen, they did swing a trade for Paul Sewald this afternoon. I don't think that's a coincidence. You just said why, because Chafin and Magoo have both shit the bed the last few times out.
Right, and though Ginkel has gotten a save or 2, like, he hasn't been good either, you know. They needed something if they're going for it. Yeah.
Yep. Let's dive into your ads real quick. You dropped Javier Baez for Ezequiel Tovar, 3 for 5 with a run, a steal, and 2 strikeouts. Dropped Gary Sanchez for Tom Cosgrove, who did not appear. And you added Tyler McGill to your NA spot. Dropped Tovar for the aforementioned Scott Magoo, 2/3 of an inning, 2 homers, a strikeout, the 54 and the 6 with the relief appearance. You dropped Cosgrove for Chris Taylor, 1 for 4, run, a double, and 3 strikeouts. You dropped Lance Lynn for Gary Sanchez, 0 for 2 with a walk and 2 strikeouts. Dropped Sanchez for Dylan Carlson, 1 for 4 with a strikeout. Dropped Chris Taylor for Miles Mastrobuoni, 1 for 5, an RBI and a strikeout, and he's now in the minor leagues. Dropped Magoo for Omar Narvaez, 0 for 2 with a walk. Dropped Narvaez for Michael Grove, 6 innings, a loss, 3 homers, a walk, 10 strikeouts, a 12 and a 183. Dropped Mastrobuoni for Trevor Richards, an inning and a third, a walk, 4 strikeouts, an 0.75, and a relief appearance. And dropped Carlson for Eddie Rosario, 0 for 3, 2 strikeouts, and benched. I think that might have been after the bell.
After the bell, yes.
Yeah. For your key players, let's see, we're giving your MVP to Nathaniel Lowe. Let's see, where are we? 350 with a 536, 4 runs, a double, a homer, 4 RBIs, 8 walks, and 6 strikeouts. Nice line. That's a good day. The least valuable hitter is going to go to Nolan Arenado, 087 with a 125, a run, a double, a homer, an RBI, a walk, and 6 strikeouts. The Cy Young is going to go to the aforementioned Kenta Maeda. Despite not getting the win, he did go 11 1/3, Did get a loss, 2 homers, 4 walks, but 15 strikeouts, a 2.38 and a 1.24. And the Cy Young is going to be the other aforementioned Andrew Chafin with that inning, a loss, 3 walks, 3 strikeouts, the 45 and the 7. On McCloskey's bench, he goes, here you go, 17 for 45.
$342.
Worse, it's 378.
Oh wow.
5 runs, 2 doubles, 3 homers, 8 RBIs, 4 walks, 8 strikeouts, and 2 errors. The walks are the only thing that really play, but he would have had to have been pretty perfect. He only needed to get 1 in to tie it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like maybe on Tuesday he had no, that wasn't even a walk. I don't even know where it would have happened. I guess it looked like maybe Wednesday there was a walk on the bench where someone didn't start. But walks are tough to get in. It's hard to predict a walk. I always find anyway. For his ads, he added Graham Ashcraft. This was before Frank did. 5 innings, a homer, 4 walks, 8 strikeouts, a 3.38 and a 1.69. He added Josh Harrison 0 for 4, dropped Harrison and Ashcraft, picked up Peter Lambert, 6 innings, a walk, 2 strikeouts, and 0.67. Dropped Lambert for Gabriel Arias, 2 for 4 with a run, a double, a walk, and a strikeout. Dropped that guy for Tommy Henry, 6 innings, a loss, a walk, 6 strikeouts, a 6 and a 1.17. And added Tuki Toussaint, 5 innings, a win, a walk, 4 strikeouts, and an 0.80 whip. And then ended the week by dropping Henry and Toussaint. His key players this week, the MVP is going to go to Ha-Seong Kim, 500 with a 609, 6 runs, 2 homers, 5 RBIs, 3 steals, 5 walks, a strikeout, and an error. Wow.
Yeah.
It looks like Hunter Renfroe. Yeah, it looks like Renfroe also had a good week. Mountcastle had a good week. Yeah,
Ohtani, Santander.
Yeah. This is a big offense. Oh. Except Sean Murphy did not have a good week. 100 with a 308, a run, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts, and an error. For his pitching, the Cy Young, we're tossing it between Lambert and Toussaint. Both of them were good pickups this week. He dropped both of them, but he got what he needed out of them. And the Cy Young is going to go to that Luis Severino start, 3 1/3, a loss, a homer, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts, 24-30, and a 3.60 whip. Ben, sir?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
All right. Like we talked about Wednesday, of course, Mountcastle could have been played at first base. Hunter Renfroe's game was postponed. There's a walk right there. Also on Friday, if he had decided to move things around, get him over to second base, Alec Boehm into the lineup, he drew the walk. Nico Horner did not draw a walk. That was on Friday. On the other side for me, I had 2 ads on catchers where I had that spot empty, and I was staring at it for a while, man. Like, add Gary Sanchez here, or do I need the ad later on in the week? Dude, if Gary Sanchez doesn't do anything, like, I'm going to be really frustrated by making this ad. If I don't make this ad, Jason, and this guy goes off, I'm going to kill myself. And he drew a walk in his first plate appearance. And I'm like, oh, that's nice. Like, this is a good start. He did nothing else. He went like 0 for 2, like you said, or 0 for 3. Little did I know how critical that walk was going to be later on. And then on Thursday, it's just like, you know what? Let me fill up the entire lineup where I got that Mastronardi guy and Chris Taylor. And no, I didn't have Chris Taylor, but I filled up the entire lineup. And I had another outfielder to fill up. I know I didn't use the guy Brennan. Who did I put in there? Did you say on Thursday? It was Mastronardi. It was
okay. Carlson.
Not really much going there. I held on to him for a while, and the other one was a catcher. Omar Narvaez. Now, of all the catchers that I was looking at, I saw a couple that were out there. Bo Naylor was in there. The White Sox had Seby Zavala that day, and I'm like, oh, between one of these two, no, I'm going with Narvaez. Like, I'm going with my guy, and he gets an error, and I'm like, God damn, like that could kill me later. Doesn't, like, I win that stat by one. What else did he do? He draws a walk. I pick up two catchers through the week in Narvaez and Gary Sanchez, get two walks, take away that category. I grabbed 6 walks on Sunday. I talked about how I wanted Emmett Sheehan and I didn't do it, and that ended up going to Frank. Okay, so maybe Michael Grove will do something. Yeah, he did something. He did. He really helped the Cincinnati Reds win a baseball game, is what he did. He was the best player on the Cincinnati Reds on Sunday. I mean, he was
struck
so
out 10.
bad. He struck out 10 because they stuck it with him. He was so bad in the beginning of the game, and I'm like, there goes ERA, there goes WHIP, there goes losses. Listen, I was up by 3 losses going into Sunday. 3 losses. Don't you think between Kenta Maeda, Michael Grove on the Dodgers, and then Merrill Kelly for the Diamondbacks, that you won't suffer 3 losses to tie that category? All 3 of them lost. That's insane. The chances, Maeda against Kansas City, like they're all favorable, basically. The Diamondbacks against Seattle, okay, like that could go either way, sure. Out of 3 to get 3 losses, and then my season is basically hanging on the balance of Luis Severino. Can you please be terrible? I can't believe it. I can't believe it, because like I said, this is some of the worst management I've ever had in my fantasy career, along with a save and a triple on the bench on Sunday. Like, that's awful. Like, for most managers, they would be killing themselves in the fact that their season is basically screwed because all this happened with all the horrible pitching. Do we look at my Sunday line here in pitching?
Let's take a look.
Yeah, I got it. Okay. It was a total of 20 innings, 3 losses, a save, but not quite enough to win that category or tie it. 5 home runs, 8 walks, 27 strikeouts, and 75 ERA and a 175 whip over 4 relief appearances. I tie ERA and I win whip. I win losses anyway, even though I surrendered 3 I win it by 1. Jason, this could have been so bad, so bad. And for some reason, I finally catch basically the biggest break that I could have been given, even with the triple left on the bench, even with the save left on the bench. Jason, this was my season. Now I got Bryan Lebo this week. I have Josh, then Matt Loosee. Then I finished with Mike Haber and you. Like, I don't want to jinx it here, but amongst schedules and the fact that a lot of you guys have to play against each other, I can't believe I'm saying this, but if you were going to tell me, am I over 50% sure that I'm getting in? I'd say, yeah. I would say, based on the team I have, this group and schedule, I believe that I'm over 50% chance getting into the dance this year.
I agree too. I mean, you mentioned that those matchups, but you also have a matchup against Ari and Matt Losi. That the schedule really helps you. I think you're in. I don't see a way where you fall out of the playoffs.
Yeah, it's a big losing streak. That's how it happens. I mean, anything can happen in one matchup. Bryan Lebo beat me 9-8 last time. Obviously, our teams are very different now. You'd say that I'm the favorite there. Then Ari Nisman, I beat him 16-4, but he's got Judge back. Once I face, then of course Josh Haber. I mean, that's probably the premier matchup. We'll see where we are at that point, but that might be fighting, both of us fighting for our lives. Matt Losi, he'll have Mike Trout back in time by the time that I face him. And then Mike Haber, that's of course. And then you in the final week sounds horrible. So, like, yeah, the avenue is there. I'm going to have to tread water still, as I've been doing, but I'm 30 over 500. at this point, if I don't get in, it's a heartbreaker, man. Like it is one of those seasons where it's just like, wow, what could have been?
It's gonna be a wild finish, dude. There's there's not a whole lot. There's what, six weeks left of the season.
That's it. That's it.
It's gonna be a dogfight to the finish.
Yeah.
I know I'm scared to death. And, it's like a battle at this point. Like who's gonna get tossed over the ring? It.
Yeah, and it's not like any. There are some guys that have more favorable schedules than others, but it's not like anyone's just got like, everything is brutal. Like you look at James McCloskey's schedule. Okay, like he does have some easy ones maybe in there, so you think, right? But he's got to go with Mike Sherman. Mike Sherman, you always know what that can be. Then Bryan Lebo, then Ari, Josh, Matt Loosee, Mike Haber. Like you like that schedule, you prefer it, but do you really want Mike Haber on the final week when you got to try to get into the playoffs and he might be fighting for a bye? Oh,
right.
no.
And
Right?
I mean, to have to face both Haber brothers 2 of the last 3 weeks of the season, that's
Yeah.
good luck.
Yeah, exactly. With Matt Lowenstein in the middle, but he's what now? Looks like he's 4 over. He's 4 over. You got Joe now, who's 8 over. You're
Yeah,
12. You're 12 over. You can make the argument that after the big win from Adam, he'd need a lot to go his way and he'd need a lot of help, but he's not necessarily out. He's an under 500 team. He's probably missing, but we got 10 teams, man, and we got only 6 spots for us 10. So it should be a crazy finish. This was a wild week, but I have a feeling we're in store for a lot more craziness.
absolutely. It's gonna be, like I said, it's gonna be a wild finish. I cannot wait to see how it all ends up. Who knows? Who knows what we're gonna be talking about on week 22? So,
Yeah.
yeah. Until then, Ben, thanks for joining me tonight.
Oh, it's a pleasure, man. This was a really fun discussion, and I'm glad that we had a chance to actually do this. We've never had this one-to-one for the show, but like I said, dude, you made it a very, very smooth ride today. So thank you so much for filling in.
Absolutely. And guys, Joe will be back tomorrow for part 2 of the week 16 review. But thank you again. And until then, guys, it's been real and it's been fun. And it is always real fun in the bigs. We'll see you next time, guys.